'cause we get around talking about my generation.
Strangeness was the rule in America in 1993. A generation of slackers had elected a rock and roll president. A Texas madman and his minions lost a fiery standoff. And two listless young fart knockers were the reigning critical voices.
If they said your band was lame, look out, man.
Speak!
That sucks. Yeah.
Stranger still, radio was in tune with a raging generation.
Real rock and roll became the norm when, 3 years before, it was all about keyboards and drum machines.
And then people started being more interested in our band.
Berkeley trio Green Day had irony to burn. They were devout punks playing addictive pop. They were toilet comics with a gift for suburban prose.
There was all of these sort of grunge bands. There was, the Pearl Jams and the Soundgardens, and I just felt like we were a wrecking ball that was ready to just destroy the house that grunge built.
The band was 2 albums into a successful independent career, and the mounting hype was palpable, above ground and below.
You have to look at these things in proportion. Just because Billy Joe Armstrong at age 20 felt successful because he sold 30,000 copies of a record is not necessarily being a huge success on America's terms.
Green Day was outgrowing the distribution capacity of their indie label, Lookout Records. A jump to the majors seemed inevitable.
When we talked about it, he basically said just that, look, what else are we going to do? We need certain things, and Lookout, I know for a fact, couldn't provide those things any further.
We're just very ambitious people, and I'll be the first to admit that. You can hang me for that.
We didn't have, the stars in our eyes. We just wanted our records to get out there.
400 miles south of Berkeley in Los Angeles, a struggling young Warner Brothers representative named Rob Cavallo was pondering his future when a crude demo of Green Day's new songs landed in his lap.
I'll never forget, he put it on the mixing desk that I was working on, and it sort of sat there, and I'm like, oh, great, yeah, okay. And I'm mixing away, and then at 11:30 that night when we were done and my ears were tired, I popped in the tape. And I just went, oh my God, this is great. This is like everything that I love in a band. And I drove home with it, listened to it probably 10 times.
It was a tape literally bursting with irresistible pop hooks and nailed with surprisingly mature musicality. One song immediately stood out, a song called Longview.
I sit around and watch the tune, but nothing's on.
I thought, that song could be a single that had this really cool loopy drum, loping kind of drum thing, and then it went into this intense sort of punk guitar assault where he was just singing this great stuff.
All the same old in a house with unlocked doors, and I'm lazy. I bite my lip and close my eyes. Take me away to paradise. I'm so damn bored, I'm going blind, and I smell like fear.
Longview was a battle cry for the idol, steeped in punk history, filtered through Berkeley psychedelics.
Well, that song came about at Billy's house. He had this riff, doesn't it? And he played that. And then Mike started going, and I started doing that thing.
And it's a real menacing quality about it. And, so the lyrics, I just wanted something that was kind of a schizophrenic kind of thing where there's this sort of rolling bass line that happens and this sort of smooth feel, and then all of a sudden it just blasts into
In In the great tradition of Billy Idol's Dancing with Myself and the Vapors Turning Japanese, Longview used masturbation as a metaphor for boredom and isolation.
God, when masturbation's lost its fun,
It's kind of like all those songs that you just sing along to, and then one day you're like, wow, yeah, that's what that's about. Wow, I hope I haven't sang that song in front of anyone I shouldn't be singing it in front of.
That's what all teenagers all over the world are doing. They're sitting in their rooms, bored out of their minds, wishing they were grown up, wishing they were old enough to leave home, so they sit around jacking off all day. You know, I mean, what teenager couldn't relate to that? And the fact that he said it out loud is so great.
I didn't think that masturbation was really looked at from the point of view that I was sort of looking at it. You know, it always seemed more people just pulling a pud or something, but I feel like mine was coming from more like lonely guy, no girlfriend, no life, complete loser.
Call me pathetic, call me what you will.
Rob Cavallo was understandably eager to ink Green Day to Warner's. But unlike other label scouts, he could reference the right bands and bang the proper chords.
You know, he spoke our language. He's a musician.
They were truly, I think, looking for the person in the label that would understand them, both as people and musically. I think they understood that whoever you sign with is somebody that you're really entrusting your career to.
But punk rock history had thus far shown that jumping from Indieville to the majors was an exercise in futility. In the mid-'80s, Green Day favorites Husker Du and The Replacements took the leap. Both were denounced as defectors by the underground and coldly rejected by mainstream radio.
When Husker Du signed to Warner Brothers, they were on, and The Replacements too, absolutely on for years.
I'm just understanding it now.
I sat there and mixed those records and made them as abrasive as I could, but still pop records. And they just, you know, you can't put that between REO Speedwagon and Duran Duran and expect the FM station to be happy with it.
Regardless of the risk, Green Day signed to Warner Brothers in April of 1993.
I said, you know, you're going to have to sell 1 million copies on Warner Brothers to make as much money as you're selling 50,000 on Lookout, the way that major label economics are so screwed up. But if you're going to sell 11 million records, sign with Warner Brothers.
You know, it's like getting into a freezing cold swimming pool. Just do it, you know? You made the decision to go swimming. You're standing there in your trunks. What are you going to do, walk around the pool forever?
We were signing a contract, and I wrote my name, and then right next to it, I wrote, "Did anybody read this?"
News of the deal reached Lookout Records. They were heartbroken.
I felt kind of hurt, and we had joked about this kind of thing with the band before that point. And maybe it was just, you know, being naive. I certainly think a lot of it probably was. If it didn't pan out, if they didn't really have the kind of success that they deserved, then I didn't know what they could do.
3 months after signing, Green Day and Cavallo entered Berkeley's famed Fantasy Studios. Their budget was $100,000. Paltry by major standards, but Fort Knox for indie graduates.
Any record that they made beforehand was just like a few days in the studio for like $800, you know, go in and play live your entire record in 3 days.
The fans that have always gotten our records are still going to be able to get it. You know, let's just try and make a good record. Now we have this great budget to go record as good a record as we can. And we'll probably have enough money left over to eat burritos and pay rent for the next 2 years.